All right, welcome back to part 2 of this project about cross-hatching. First, we're going to look at a few examples of different ways to approach cross-hatching. It's always important to know what the form is that you're trying to relate to. So with this, we have a circle. So we got to imagine that circle is coming out at us. So whenever we make our lines, we want them to kind of replicate where the lines are coming toward us to give it a little bit more volume and not only just value. This is important when you're trying to trick people. When you're trying to convince them that this is a real thing, you need to kind of follow the form that you're using. So you can see on this, my lines are all kind of curved. That helps quite a bit. Don't forget, everything has the 6 levels of light, so make sure to use those properly. Now, there's other examples of this, so trying to have a value scale is really important, just something around you. One thing I'm going to do quite a bit whenever it comes to cross-hatching on this video is to use a lot of layers. Now, the layers, they build up with the parallel lines kind of constantly overlapping each other. So think of that whenever you move forward. You don't have to cross-hatch everything as you go. You can build up layers and layers and layers. I'll show you throughout this video different ways of approaching it just on this rabbit as an example right there. So this is what you're going to need. I have several different pens. These are some microns, the pen liners. That orange one is the one you're probably going to be using more of. So get a little bit more comfortable with that one. Now it's important whenever you start on this that you start in an area you're a little bit more comfortable with. I personally am comfortable doing eyes, so I started with the eyes. Now, as you do yours, you probably want to start in an area that's not more of a focal point, so people don't have to pay as much attention to it. There's a good chance that the first thing you do is not going to be very good. That's why we do little practice ones. Now, as you can see here, everything I'm doing is just layers and layers of lines. I'm doing some contour outlining just to give myself a better idea, but it is not 100% required. You can see here, I am going to just start seeing what I have on the left in that picture of the bunny and start putting down my marks. Now I'm dealing with fur, so all of my marks are specifically going to be more curved to help mimic the look of fur. You don't have to really stick to that too hard though. It's up to you how you want to replicate it. But as you can see with the lines that I'm putting down, I really wanted to focus on replicating the fur. Layers and layers and layers and layers. I was not overselling it earlier when I said you're probably going to do about 10,000 lines on this whole project. Now, as you move forward, you're going to find that the layers of lines you put down are good, but you're going to need to keep going back and forth and finding your happy medium of what it should look like. It doesn't all necessarily have to be perfect every time. So you need to figure out what you find important. Now, this bunny head, I will actually come back to it much later because I was getting a little frustrated with how it looked. That's totally fine. You can move and then come back. Now, don't worry too much about how accurate everything looks at first, because as you work, things will look better. Now you can see that I'm kind of highlighting specific areas that should be lighter. And that's something that's going to really help me realize the look of this. Again, the 6 levels of light. You have highlight, so areas that you should probably leave white. Quarter tone, so a very light amount of lines. Half tone, so about half filled with lines. Base tone, basically the darkest object on there. Then you have reflected light, which there will still be some reflected light on whatever thing you were working on. Then cast shadow. Now the cast shadow on these is going to be more related to the object that the animal is sitting on, and say like its head casting a shadow onto its body. Now with this one, the shadow is cast by its little tufts of hair. And that depth is very important. So as I'm moving through this, I'm kind of starting to outline things. I don't ever just outline something. Lines need to kind of come off of that to make it look a little bit more natural. You're going to find that what you're doing is might possibly be different than mine, and that's okay. But there's some like common things that we can go with that'll make things look better. When there's fur, you're never just gonna have like a straight line like that, like on the contour of the back. There's always gonna be some amount of extra line coming off of it to mimic that texture. And that is a big part of what we're doing here is textures. And as I'm building up all the layers of line on the back here, you can see how they're all very curved at this point, because I'm putting more lines on top of it that's really giving us a nice furry texture as I go. The back of the neck I wasn't a big fan of. It just didn't work the way I wanted it to. Now as I kept moving forward, these ears are very light and delicate, so my lines were a lot more spaced out. I was a little bit more controlled of my lines. The important thing with these pens is you get more comfortable with them. They don't like to go fast. They are not speed drawing implements. You want to go slow with them. If you go too fast, it'll make kind of a sketchy mark, which I did later with some success. Now with the background, you are going to be supporting your image, okay? For the purpose of this assignment, this project, the animal, the central part of it is the main part of your composition. That's what we really need to focus on, okay? But the rest of it, still there needs to be something there. Not to say you should just scribble all over it, but maybe think of a way that you can incorporate the animal into the composition in a very effective way. So don't waste your time on really overthinking the background, but don't waste my time by showing me garbage. Now make sure you just erase all your pencil lines when you're done, and out pops some money. Or whatever it is that you're working on. It could be a tiger, it could be a bear. Don't think there's any other bunnies. So good luck, and I wish you the best. Hopefully things work out for you. Believe in you. See you later.